You know, honestly, the best part about running a YouTube channel is hearing from you guys and having those discussions down in the comments. But you know what? The worst part about running a YouTube channel is when those conversations kind of become unhinged. And we got some comments recently that really weren't even just opinions. They were just downright wrong. Now, we could just shrug those comments off and leave them be, but we don't ever want you guys to be left guessing, you know, who's really done their homework on all of this. So when somebody makes a comment that kind of directly opposes the facts that we put out in our video, that's a little bit of a threat to the credibility that we've built with all of you. So today we're going to do a little bit of house cleaning to make sure the information that you guys take away from this channel remains reliable. And yes, we know we've covered these topics several times in the past, but they're always worth revisiting, especially because we're always getting new subscribers. And they continue to be topics that we see out there on the internet forums where there's just a lot of really bad misinformation. So here's what we're going to cover today. We're going to cover surge protectors, we're going to cover AC soft starters, and then we're going to cover the lithium iron phosphate batteries, whether they are indeed safe or whether they're too dangerous to be using in an RV. So surge protectors. We had a viewer that claimed that surge protectors are a scam and that in the RV world, you should be able to just get by with some basic electrical testing equipment. Now, what does a surge protector do? Obviously, it protects you from surges of power coming in through that campground pedestal. Now, it's probably not going to protect you from a direct lightning strike, but it can protect you from moderate surges that come in through that pedestal for whatever reason. But that's not the extent of what a good surge protector can do for your RV. A good surge protector will also have an electrical management system built into it, or an EMS. An EMS actually monitors the power coming in from your pedestal, and it will take action if it sees dirty power coming into your rig. And it does that by way of an emergency power off feature, or an EPO. So when the EMS is monitoring that power coming into your RV, if it sees any sort of unusual condition like a missing ground or a missing neutral, high voltage, low voltage, you name it, that EMS will completely turn power off to your rig. All right, so now that we know what a surge protector is and what an EMS is, let's go back to the comment that this viewer made about being able to just get by with some basic electrical test gear. And so what he's talking about is things like a multimeter like this. This is something that you should be using on your pedestal when you pull in before you connect up to shore power. If it's done properly, this can tell you whether or not that pedestal is safe to plug into. And then the other thing that he's probably talking about is one of these little outlet testers. These things are pretty handy. All you do is you just plug it straight into an outlet, and it's got a series of lights on it and a little table down here that tells you what the lights mean. For example, it tells you whether or not you've got an open ground, an open neutral, an open hot leg, or even a reversed hot and neutral leg. So these things are pretty handy tools to have. So the question is, why do we need that surge protector with an EMS? And the answer to that is, well, we are not going to be constantly monitoring the power coming into our rigs with those basic electrical testing instruments. We're just not. We can't. So when you leave your rig or when you go to bed at night, there's nobody to monitor what's going on with that power. That's where the surge protector with the EMS comes in. Its job is to protect your RV from that dirty power coming in from the campground when you are not monitoring it. So the point here is that if you've got a good surge protector that has this EMS feature that will turn off power to your rig when it sees a problem, to say that these things are a scam is just totally false. Spending $200 or $300 on one of these things can save you thousands of dollars in damages if your rig experiences something like an open neutral that can cause a lot of damage to a lot of components in your RV very, very quickly. Okay, let's move on to the AC soft starters. So again, we had a viewer claim that these things are a scam because you have to, quote unquote, solve mechanical problems with mechanical solutions. And of course, the mechanical problem he's talking about here is that compressor on the AC unit, when it starts up, it draws a lot of power. So to understand why that's not true, we have to understand how these soft starters work and what they do. So number one, and this is what most people focus on, AC soft starters allow you to start AC units, maybe even multiple AC units, on a limited source of electrical power. And that's fine. That's a great benefit of having one of these things. But the other thing that these soft starters do, and in my opinion, it's far more important, is that they actually help protect all of the electrical and mechanical components inside of that AC unit. And so how does it do that? Well, it all revolves around how these AC soft starters limit that huge inrush of current when the compressor in your AC unit starts. These compressors can draw upwards of 50 to 60 amps of starting current when they first start up. And that's really hard on all of the electrical and mechanical components inside of that air conditioner. So obviously, the more current that something draws, the more heat that it produces, and all of that heat over time wears down all of those electrical components. And then as well, the more current that AC compressor draws when it starts up, the higher torque it produces, and that also really stresses the mechanical parts of that compressor. So in order to minimize how much power these things draw when they start up, we turn to things like the MicroAir Easy Start soft starters. These things can decrease that initial power surge by up to about 70%. And trust me, that's not a myth. We actually did a video on this, I think a couple of years back. We tested the starting surge on our air conditioner unit both before and after we installed one of these MicroAir Easy Start units. I'm not going to get into the details of that, but if you want to check out that video, I will go ahead and link it down below. I was actually really surprised when I saw the results after we installed that soft starter from MicroAir. So for the soft starters, it's not just about having the ability to start those AC units on a limited supply of electrical power. It's really about protecting all of the components inside of your air conditioner to hopefully make that thing last as long as you possibly can. Okay, and finally, let's move on to these lithium iron phosphate batteries. We've got a reviewer that claims that these batteries are not safe and that they're more dangerous than a lead acid battery. This is a very common misconception, and I've read many social media posts about this. It stems from the fact that lithium iron phosphate batteries fall under the broader lithium ion umbrella, but there are some key differences between lithium iron phosphate batteries and those other lithium ion batteries. The most important difference is that the lithium iron phosphate batteries are far more chemically stable than other types of lithium ion batteries. This almost entirely eliminates the battery's chances of going into a thermal runaway condition. Okay, that's just a fancy way of saying that if the battery catches on fire, the chemical reactions within the battery actually feed the fire with more fuel. But lithium iron phosphate batteries don't produce oxygen like other batteries do if they get to that thermal runaway stage. These batteries tend to maybe just smoke a little bit and simply vent those gases off because there's no oxygen being produced internally. So that's how the battery chemistry keeps these batteries safe. But how do we prevent these batteries from even getting to that thermal runaway point? That's where the battery monitoring system, or BMS, comes in. In short, the BMS is the brains of the battery. It's designed to prevent the battery from operating outside of its design specifications: high voltage, low voltage, overcurrent, overcharging, overtemp, etc. And they're mandated by electrical codes and safety standards. So simply put, although lithium iron phosphate batteries are inherently stable and safe, the BMS then ensures that the battery never gets to a point where it can actually catch on fire. And now that we've got the why out of the way, let's look at what really matters, and that's actual data. So what we're looking at here is an infographic from UL Solutions. That's an organization that performs independent safety testing, certifications, and auditing for lithium-ion batteries globally. And as you can see here, they've been tracking this data on lithium-ion batteries for nearly 20 years. And while there have been a significant number of reported deaths from the batteries that fall under the lithium-ion umbrella in general, there have only been a total of 4 fatalities global from energy storage systems, which is the category that lithium iron phosphate batteries live. These aren't the batteries you heard about on the news that were exploding in phones and e-bikes. Those batteries are made up of completely different, far less stable chemistry with no built-in protections. Okay, we're done with the techie stuff. And again, the real reason we did this video is because so many posts and comments out there in the social media world are just entirely inaccurate. And we don't want anyone reading those kind of comments in our space that make you second guess our content. We love it when you guys send us comments, suggestions, and even corrections, but we won't let the bad info spread in our space. Again, we could just delete those and move on, but we always want to be as transparent as possible while educating and empowering our audience with correct information. All right, that's going to wrap it up for this week. If you got something out of this video, make sure you hit that like button down there. If you haven't done so already, make sure you hit the subscribe button. And while you're down there, hit the bell button. That way you're notified of all of our future videos. And until that future video, happy camping and stay safe out there, guys.